Good morning, one and all present here. I, Satyam Khare, welcome you all on behalf of ISF College of Pharmacy in the ISFCP dialogue series under the Aegis of IQAC and IIC of ISFCP Moga, Punjab. So today we have Mr. Sanyam Gandhi as our expert of the day. Welcome you, sir.
Yep. Thank you very much, Satyam. Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Sanyam Gandhi, presently working as Growth and Emerging Market Senior Regulatory Strategy Lead, Takeda, Cambridge, USA. His master's and bachelor's degrees are from RGPV Bhopal, leadership principles from Harvard University, Boston, USA in 2022, management essentials from Harvard University, Boston, USA in 2021, regulatory affairs certification, that is RAC, from RAPS USA in 2016, variation CMC clinical trials from TOPRA, that is periodically. He has published various peer review publications and articles for regulatory affairs time to time. Also a speaker in regulatory affairs conference held at USA. Sir has nominated in TOPRA Award 2021 for contribution in the field of regulatory affairs, sorry. He has master's degree in pharmacy with 14 years of hands-on experience in regulatory affairs, strategic planning and project management with emphasis on regulatory submissions. He also endorsement for Orphan Accelerated Fast Track Abbreviated Reliance and Assess Pathways and Scientific Discussion with Health Authority. He also an early stage development expertise, also a post-approval expertise too, and developed multiple process for regulatory affairs department with various work streams. He received Top Performer Award in 2021 for excellent performance in the field of regulatory affairs. He, before moving to Takeda Pharmaceuticals, he was on various top positions in different pharma industries in UK, Ireland, Harlow, London, Sweden, Kent, Gurgaon, etc. Sir has very vast experience as a leader in the field of regulatory affairs and hope today's lecture will be very beneficial and important for the pharma professionals as well as all the students of pharmacy. Before starting the lecture, I again welcome you, sir, and thank you. So now, welcome our today's expert, Mr. Sanyam Gandhi, sir, who talks on the topic global expansion of pharmaceutical product from regulatory perspective. Sir, please start your lecture. Thank you, sir.
Okay. First of all, I just want to say thank you to Satyam and GD Gupta sir giving me opportunity to speak with everyone in ISF college and online as well. So I let me share start my screen. Can you see my screen now?
Sir, yes, it is visible now.
Okay. Okay. Let me convert into the slide mode. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so today we will touch base just on global expansion of pharmaceutical product and from the regulatory point of view. So, just to step back, what exactly is a regulatory affair? So, regulatory affair is a department which work between pharma companies and the government health authorities. So any pharma company want to register the product in any country, they first have to take approval from their government agencies, and each country, the government agency's name and the way of working is very different. For example, if we want to register product in US, then we have to reach out to US FDA. If we want to register product in European market, then we have to reach out European Medicine Agency. Then in
Sorry,
each
sir.
country, yeah.
Sorry, sir, for disturbing. Sir, आपकी slide visible नहीं है.
Oh, is it okay? Let me. एक मिनट हाँ. Can you see it now? Is it appearing now?
Yes, sir. Now is it visible?
Okay, yeah. So, for example, if we are registering product in Europe, then if we want to register in all 29 countries in Europe, then we follow a pathway called a centralized procedure. If we are, if company choose to register product in one new market, and then additional only selective 6 or 7 market in Europe, that is called a decentralized procedure. And if any company already have license in, for example, in Germany, and they want to register in new 5 or 6 market, then we follow a pathway called mutual recognition procedure. And then there are national health authority in each European country as well. So that's how they do collective review. Similarly, now Russia is introducing EAU conversion, where they will cover the Belarus, Kazakhstan, and couple of other market as well. So that's how the structure of country wise and regional wise is very different. And whenever we are going for global expansion, we have to understand where company want to do business, where are the patient need. Then we select that particular pathways, and then we start to register the product. So, what exactly is a regulatory affair? The regulatory affair is a combination of four skill set that obviously you have to have good understanding about the science behind the drug development, but also addition to that, one must understand the management capacity, that when exactly what are the resources, how much time it will take, and what sort of funding is required. So overall project management and people management is heavily involved, because this is a department which work with the every department of a company. Then we have to understand the local legislation as well, that what are the legal codes pathways we are going to use a product registration. And then one have to have the commercial sense as well, that when we can register a product, when can we launch. There is a huge process. Once the product is approved, we have to follow for a price and reimbursement. So as a regulatory professional, one has to have understanding of this four basic element. And why it's required? Because there has been many incidents in history where the error has been done, and we are dealing with the public health. That's why the pharma products are way more regulated than food supplement or other product. Also, it regulate the indication. There are cases, where anyone can claim to treat certain disease, but the regulatory department and health authorities make sure that what we are claiming for, it should work for. So, and it always depend on company size, but regulatory department usually have this basic structure. But in big organizations, there might be several sub department of regulatory affair. But in a small company, there might be some limited. So depend on company size, but usually the regulatory affair have a rec CMC department. The CMC stand for chemistry, manufacturing, and control. These are the people who deal with the quality and the manufacturing to represent their best interest to the health authority. They usually write the quality sections into the dossier, and they help with the GMP audit and everything. So that's the role of a rec CMC department. The regulatory strategist is someone who basically drive the project from end to beginning. His role is to highlight the risk and the mitigation plan, and understand what is the best option available. And then he coordinate with the regulatory project manager the overall project. In case of global expansion, like the role as a strategist, you get involved to choose a pathway. in the best interest of company, and then the drug should be available as soon as possible to the patients. Similarly, the regulatory labeling is also very responsible department, because whenever we develop a product, the regulatory labeling is the main tool which get information about the product to the patient and to the health professionals as well. So, you must have seen the patient leaflet whenever we buy a carton of a pharmaceutical product. It have all the information in it. So the regulatory labeling department is responsible to maintain the text into that label. So they liaise with the clinical people and some CMC folks as well about the shelf life and other things. Uh, and then there is a local regulatory. So, generally in a big organization, there is a global regulatory. And whenever we go for global expansion, they have local offices, and this local regulatory help them to feed information as per local laws. And then the publishing and the operation department usually help to meet how the dossier or information should be submitted to health authority. So we are seeing lots of technologies are being introduced in this area, where now, historically we used to print dossiers, submit to health authorities, then we converted into CDs. Now there are direct portal where we can directly submit the dossiers and other regulatory submissions directly to the health authorities. So these are the general, but in big department, there are some sub department like regulatory business operation, regulatory operation, and then process excellence, compliance. So it always vary company to company. Being in regulatory affair department, you never go into the laboratory. Your role is more driven with the corporate client colleagues. You have to work with each department. For example, production, you have to understand the manufacturing of a drug and represent that to health authorities. What are the quality assurance and control? Even when they are manufacturing, sometimes they also want to cross refer to guidelines, so you feed that information back to them. So it's both ways. In usually in all companies, regulatory sits in R&D. In R&D, they are involved from the very beginning for non-clinical studies. The non-clinical studies are something which we perform to check safety of a drug. So there is a very detailed guidelines in ICH for safety. So we have to follow that, and obviously each product we have different safety parameter which we have to develop. Then we work with packaging, same is commercial, because we need to, if it is generic company, then we have to feed them information when the patent is getting expired, when can we submit dossier. So the generic product is available just next day in market once the innovative product is getting expired. And if it is innovative product, then also we have to understand that how quickly we can bring the product to the market. Similarly, for sales and marketing, sometimes they have very enthusiasm to put lots of information for indication and other things, but it has to be supported by the clinical data. So it's a role of regulatory to justify all those changes. Sometimes they want to make changes outside of carton in a color and design, but we have set regulation. For example, MHRA have regulation that one company cannot manufacture all the carton in same style in same color format. So it should not cause confusion to pharmacists when they are dispensing a product. So, and the clinical research and pharmacovigilance are the department. So pharmacovigilance is something whenever there are adverse event once product in market. So they collect the adverse event or side effect, and then regulatory department submit those adverse event to health authorities, and then those changes get, on annual basis or regular basis get reflected on the labeling. And then we work with the intellectual property department, medical affair and project management. So in regulatory, basically for global expansion as well, we work with all this department to make sure that what are the local requirement. Some countries, for example, if we are going in Saudi, they ask for halal certificate. In that case, we should make aware to production that whether this product can go there or not. In case of Brazil, they have the certain requirement to do analytical method. So we have to make sure to the quality assurance and QC department when they develop method with R&D, so they understand what are the requirement. So these are the various example where we have to be very careful when we are going for global expansion. So whenever we have the any project which will be registered in multiple market, as a professional, we have to define the scope. We have to understand the business case, that how many markets we are going to target, what are the therapeutic areas where it get involved, what are the particular studies are required. Some, if it is, for example, vial, then we require certain additional stability testing for vial. What sort of packaging material we are using, depending on that, it always vary what sort of stability data we are providing. So this should be well planned when the product is in R&D. And then we have to prepare summaries and presentation and provide this information to the in-house as well, that this is required for a business case, and this is the criteria we should meet from the regulatory point of view to develop a product. But apart from that, once we are doing all this in-house, we have to conduct the same due diligence with the health authorities as well. So in that case, we have to continuous plan meetings and feed information to health authorities for innovative product. We have multiple sets of rounds of interaction with health authorities, have their consensus and some pre-approvals about our strategy. So that is all we do as part of global expansion project. And then obviously we have to write review and readiness for dossier as well. So these are the technical aspect, but obviously whenever we are planning this expansion, we have to have certain process and soft skill set as well, that we should understand that what sort of question we might expect during the review, and we have those answers well in advance. Because if suddenly a new requirement or agency asks which we have unforeseen, and those studies are taking like 6 months, then obviously it's a delay in market launch. So we have to be well aware that what can be asked, and then have readiness about it. And then we have to regularly communicate to everyone, to even assessor as well, that how we are handling different aspect of development, what sort of resources is required to run a global expansion project, how many people will be required, how much time we will take for other department so we can get their support. Then we have to be a bit assertive if required on timely. So these are the soft skill set and process related parameter we should have. This is a very general chart of drug development. Whenever we are going for global expansion, before that we have to have certain documents ready. This is an example in case of US. This terms IND is very specific to US. NDA is commonly is a new drug application. IND is investigational new drug. So before we submit IND to US FDA, we had to have the animal testing up to certain level to show that product is safe. We do like many toxicological studies. We provide some literature references if it is for example, if certain excipients is being used in industry for like 10 years, then we don't have to perform the testing again. So we provide those literature in these cases. So once the molecule is ready, we do lots of animal testing. Then we run phase 1 to 3. So sequentially, we add the number of patients. usually. And if we get the good data in phase one where the minimum patients are there, and the product is giving a sign that it's a good endpoint for efficacy, and companies in a rush, sometimes they kick off phase two and phase three together. So it depend, we make that strategy just on that, depending on situation. And then this is a short term animal testing, but if we are seeing some sort of impurities which are developing over the period, then we monitor them even up to the very end as well, and we quantify those impurities that it should not harm the patient. So this is how the development work goes. So in IND, we provide this minimum information. And when we submit the new drug application, which is the main dossier for drug approval, we have to make readiness of all this information. Same time, we choose the pathways that how we want to register a product. If it is innovative, then we choose a pathway. It should be accelerated or a standard review. And we have several round of meeting, those in US called type C, type D meeting, where we have all these technical discussions. And there are scientific committees in EMA which can guide us as well, that what exactly we require before we submit a dossier. So that's how the standard development goes, hand to hand with the regulatory. And this is just an example that if it is a nanoparticle, and nanoparticles are, these are the approved nanoparticles from US FDA. And so we see that, from the development point of view, it's a cellular targeting gene therapy, or cryosurgery, or immunotherapy. So, how exactly we are going to use as a mechanism of action? Depending on that, we determine what sort of biological challenges might be there, technological challenges. For example, we know if it is liposomes, then the stability is always a challenge. If we are scaling up tablets from certain batch size to the 10 times, then we have to conduct the performance qualification. And if we are having some sort of study design, then what sort of animal models we are using it. So these all are well written in ICH and other guidelines, but we have to be regularly provide this information depending on therapies to the development department, so everyone can do their bits and pieces. Usually, whenever we are going for global expansion, uh, there is a two very separate classification we can do, is a biological product and a small molecule. This is a very general chart which can help us to define the product is a biological or a small molecule. So if it is a small molecule, then usually we use a route of NDA. But if it is biological product, then we take a biological license application. So this chart simply, if it is like a polypeptide or polynucleotide, or then we check what is the size of it. Then in synthesis, are we using a small molecule, or if we are using like a gene therapy, or we are taking from any animal cell or human cell, then we are putting in a blood into the solution. So the regulations are very different for biologicals and NDA. So in many market, when we are going for global expansion, the many the growth in emerging market first required approval in BLA. But in some market like Australia, Brazil, Argentina, if it is NDA, they will directly adopt as well. But having said that, now slowly many health authorities are developing a pathway where they are not dependent on US or EU approval. So it vary on which pathway we are going. This is a very typical common technical document, we call it. CTD is a common technical document where we provide the subject matter expert information. So the module three is and this is very standard in all country. This was designed by the ICH. So into module three, we provide all the quality related information. So it should include the manufacturing, the testing, the stability, packaging, and everything. The non-clinical have all the toxicological studies. The clinical have all the clinical phases report. Having said that, here, depending on type of product we are using, if it is a generic product, then it's we only provide bioequivalence study. If it is innovative, then we conduct lots of trials. So these are the module 3, 4, 5. In module 2, usually is a summary of module 3, 4, 5 here. And then we have overall summary of a product. So this is a from module 2 to 5 is very standard in all market. But whenever we are going for global expansion, we have very different module 1. In each country they have a separate set of requirement. In Russia, for example, they conduct local testing when we are registering a product, so they prepare normative document here. In China also there is a mini dossier in module 1. And there is a lot in the module 1 whenever we are going to each market. So we have to plan all those document well in advance. These are the pathways when we are going for global, and these are four pathways, and their definition always vary country to country. This four definition based on US. The priority review is something whenever we submit a dossier to US FDA, they will take action and application as soon as possible. The breakthrough therapy is something which is that this therapy have demonstrated a substantial improvement on available therapies. The accelerated pathways is something where there is unmet need. Those are the disease which don't have treatment right now. In those cases, the review get completed very quickly. The fast track is something where the serious unconditional need is unmet and it will review faster as well. It's mix of both of them. So these are the and this always vary country to country. The reliance pathways is getting very popular in regulatory now, where one health authority acknowledge the review cycle of major health authority and it quickly grant you approval. It's very common in Middle East market where you can get approval in 6 to 7 months. If it is approved in US, there are certain criteria you have to meet for it. The Orbis is something introduced by US FDA, very specific to cancer treatment, and only 5 countries has signed up for it right now. The same is exit pathway. So these pathways are getting very common now, where I wrote a research article as well about it. Here is a link for this. This is just a very general overview that whenever we go for, this is just an example for USFDA, but similarly, same pattern we have for each country. So we saw so far that we have this interaction with the health authority. The OCE is a department which deal with the oncological product in US FDA, and we submit the NDA request, and then we have pre-NDA request. This sort of document we have to make ready along with the module 3 to 5, and then we file the dossier, and then the review cycle get started. So that's very standard cycle we follow in our all market. And whenever we are going for global, these are the certain parameters which we have to look for. For example, we have to look for what is a legal basis for drug approval, what legal code we are going to use, how this health authority is named and structured. It can be very confusing sometimes, even for in India. For example, we have CDSCO, which look the overall regulation. Then we have state FDA as well, like MP and Punjab, and all the state have their own FDA as well. So we have to be very make sure that if we are going global, what is a health authority structure in each country, and then we have to follow it. Then we got classification as well, that in which classification we want to register a product. This become very confusing When we are supplying the device, sometimes it's classified as a combination, sometimes you have to register device separately, sometimes we provide administration kit, then we have to follow certain regulation. So these are the point we have to consider from the planning point of view. Then what are the requirements? Some country force you to be a marketing authorization holder as a manufacturing site. Sometimes they ask, like Mexico, you have to have, even in Dubai, you have to have a legal responsible company in the country. So you sign up contract with the local distributor or manufacturer. And then what are the processes after approval? What are the processes for import and export? Because sometimes you have to conduct clinic the quality testing. And then for example, the dossier will go into paper copy or in ECTD, CTD format. Uh, and then we have to see the product approval, clearance, and certification. What is the process of appeal? Because sometimes the outcome which we are not looking for, and we are sure about our product, in those cases it's very popular case where the simvastatin, it was cancelled for Ranbaxy by the USFDA. They went to the court. So what are the legal route if we are not happy with the outcome of health authorities? So we have to explore those options if required. Sometime we face this in Europe as well. And then packaging and labeling requirement, where we see what are the regulation, local regulation, like there are some linguistic requirement. If we are going in Switzerland, we have to develop a labeling requirement into French, English, and other language as well. So, a specific requirement for a specific product. Then, what are the post-marketing requirement? And then pharmacovigilance requirement. When can we, we have to. What are the data log point to submit the adverse event? What are the regulation in advertisement and pricing and reimbursement? For example, in US, there are medicinal product, the prescription product, which you can advertise in television, but you can't in many other market. So you have to understand what are the reimbursement process. Many European market, although you register product with centralized procedure in 29 market, but each market have separate dynamics. Some are tender driven business where the government take care of medical supply, and some are distribution based. So you have a very long process for defining what should be the pharma product cost in those market. So then we have the quality system, and then we have the manufacturing practices, GMP requirement, and then the what are the inspection requirement, what sort of detail we should provide in dossier. Then any country specific mechanism available to speed the access, which we just talk different pathways. If it is orphan designation, for example, the orphan designations are something, if in US the one patient on 200,000 patient, that's classified as orphan. So the for orphan there are lots of reimbursement because the company struggle with the revenue, but obviously there are certain perk you receive getting orphan designation. So these are the mechanism which we explore. And then what are the mandatory requirements? So this all aspect we have to be very careful whenever we are going for global. This is a very general chart where we have to see these are the regulatory pathways, the standard, rare disease, or EAU conversion, high priority, country wise. This is just an example where we usually the tendency is in pharma company, they first want, the big pharma company, if it is not regional, it's a global company, they first want to register into US and EU. Once they have done that, so what happens, the countries like Australia, Brazil, Argentina, and now China as well. These countries are not dependent on approval of EU and US. So you can submit those here in parallel when the review is going into these markets. Yeah. But many other market into growth and emerging, they first wait for approval from the US and EU because they issue called CPP, the Certificate of Pharmaceutical Product. So once the review cycle is completed by the US and EU, then you roll out your rest of the market, and so that's how you put a milestone for each country, and then you see along with the pathways the device is involved, when you will register, when you will have the GMP approval, when you will receive the question, when the product will be approved, when it will be launched. So that's how you put a very small milestone for each product. And once the product is approved and launched, then also the role of regulatory from the global point of view always remains, because you have to renew license in each market. In majority of market, it's a 5 year. And during the review, if you have seen come across any post approval commitment where agency has asked you certain data, conditional approval, then you have to submit those. You have to maintain license because there are certain obligations. If CMC want to make any changes, they can't directly do it. First, they have to propose to health authority. If it is major changes, it always vary upon the categories. There are set guidelines. For example, if you are changing just outer carton, which don't have any impact on quality, you can do it, but you have to inform them annually. But if you are changing the thickness of Bristol, then in that case you first need a prior approval, because the oxidation can be fast because of it. So depending on the categories, you have to inform if you are changing base size, which is a major change. So if you are changing the supplier of API, these are the example. If you have any out of specification, then batch specification request and justification you provide. The PBRAs are same, which are the safety update. The risk management plan is something which you prepare for pharmacovigilance department, and you say that how we will cover the adverse event and safety incidents from the market. If any safety update you want to propose or agency want to propose based on the same product from a different company, we have to reflect those into our labeling. So there is a concept CCDS which get help to develop all these things. Then there is a post authorization study commitment as well, where you continuously perform the post authorization studies on certain commitments. And then obviously you have to keep maintaining the label and packaging as per the regulation. So these are the something as a honor of a product you have to do. But obviously if there are changes into the, for example, in labeling, now there is a lot of talk to how should we stop the adulterated medicines. Like for example, Viagra lose its a very big business because of the adulterated product available everywhere. Like we can see Vicks, Vapora, Piodex everywhere, same packaging. So there is a trace and track guidelines very popular right now. So we can track back each product up to the uh, batch, that when it was done and everything, by a QR code or 3D monogram. So this sort of the guidelines which come from the industry, and you have to implement irrespective whatever the product you have. So yeah, this is all. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. So, thank you, sir, for your very informative and important lectures. That is very useful and easy to understand for all our pharmacy professionals and students. This will definitely very useful for listeners and viewers of our fields too. I request to all the listeners and viewers, please put your queries, if any related to this talk, in chat box. We will reply very soon. Before closing the session, once again, I heartily thankful to the to our guest, Mr. Sanyam Gandhi ji, sir, for accepting our invitation at very short period of time and sharing your valuable expertise with us and for budding pharma professionals. Thank you very much, sir. Thanks to all once again.
Yeah, no, thank you, Satyam and ISF College, to giving me opportunity to talk today. Yeah, have a